Your lucky day. You get 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's your lucky day. What a day we are having here, isn't it? Right? I mean, listen, as a former director of emergency management, I know a disaster when I see one. I mean, by the way, you don't believe me, just ask Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, your guy, just went on and said, perhaps...
Whose guy is Steve Bannon?
Yeah, well, you know who Steve Bannon is. Steve Bannon just went on and said perhaps the Republicans shouldn't have started with a witness. He was talking about Professor Turley, who was going to say right off the bat that there wasn't an impeachable offense. I quote, he says, perhaps we should have put him on the maybe list for one of our witnesses. So your other witness, Ms. O'Connor, gave a complete recitation of the last 9 months, 8 months of these hearings. She went through some of the greatest hits that have come out, right? Everything that has been presented, both in these committees that we've been having, on TV, all of the evidence that you guys have been presenting over the last 8 months, all of that together. And what does Professor Turley say? It says everything we know at this juncture doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. Boy, that is awkward. It's like political impeachment malpractice. But look, let's go back at some of the previous comments that my colleagues have given. So the chairman, and I have a slide, the chairman goes on Hannity, right? You guys all know Sean. You appear with him on Fox News all the time, right? And Hannity asks a softball question, right? This is a total softball. Do you believe that this is now officially the Joe Biden bribery allegation, and do you believe you will be able to prove it? The chairman should have just said yes. But nope, he says hope so, because he doesn't have any evidence. Couldn't say yes. Right? Next slide, please. Then we have Senator Grassley. Grassley says what we all know out loud. We aren't interested in whether or not the accusations against Vice President Biden are accurate. Chuck, we know. We know you're not interested in the truth. Next slide, please. And then Donald Trump, he's giving it all away. We know he doesn't. He likes to show his cards. He says, I think had they not done it to me, perhaps you wouldn't have it being done to them. And this is going to happen with indictments, too. So, Donald Trump, the tough guy, right? What is he saying? He's teaching the lesson we all teach our kids, right? If they do it to you, go do it back. So look, we're all appearing now in the world's worst acted TV drama, right? It's been picked up for a second season, the Real House Republicans of Oversight. Perhaps the material's so bad due to the writer's strike. How many Republicans, Freedom Caucus members, part of the Chaos Caucus, have said there's no evidence to impeach Joe Biden? And again, of course, we know it's not about the evidence. Why? Here's a list of all of the articles of impeachment that have been filed by my colleagues, some that are on this committee. When was the first article filed? It was filed in January of 21, 2 weeks after January 6th. So before we had a single hearing, before they went through this myriad of phishing, they were filing articles of impeachment. Professor Turley, you said this doesn't rise to the level of impeachment, and you said they shouldn't prejudge. Well, here's a list right here of every single member, many on this committee, prejudging. They're filing articles of impeachment. COVID, Afghanistan, Hunter Biden, and they're all one-upping each other in the Donald Trump Friend Olympics, trying to get invited to the sleepover at Mar-a-Lago. Oh, I filed articles of impeachment against Merrick Garland. No, I filed articles of impeachment against Kamala Harris. Okay? It is ridiculous. But this is what this is about. Let me show you. It's a simple board, right? So all other presidents in the United States, 50% of the impeachments. Donald Trump, the other 50. Donald Trump has half of the impeachments in American history. But you know what? He's got 100% of the indictments. 100% of all indictments. 0 for the other presidents. Listen, let me do it another way. I want to channel my inner Tim Russert. So let me go to the board, right? And I don't have Florida. But Donald Trump, impeachments. Oh, how many impeachments? We got 2 there. How many indictments? We got 4. How many for Biden? 0. Donald Trump is right. He's sick of winning. He's just winning, running away with it. And that's why we're here. We're here because of math. That's what this is about. They can't save Donald Trump. They can't take away the 2 impeachments and the 4 indictments. But they can try to put some numbers on the board for Joe Biden. But the problem is when you sling mud, you got to have mud. And they just don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. So look, we get it. We know why we're here. That's why they say the Biden family, the Bidens, James Biden, Joe Biden's dog, Commander, but not Joe Biden. Never Joe Biden. So when are you going to have the vote on impeachment, Mr. Chairman? What are you scared of? Call the vote. Come on. If you all think there's so much evidence, we're here. Call the vote on impeachment. Impeach him right now. I dare you. Ivanka Trump, you know, she's doing business with the Chinese while she's working in the White House. Totally beautiful. Right? Why do I bring that up? They want to say you have credibility. The problem is they have none. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and thank you for holding this an important topic. I replaced Congressman Ted Deutsch in Congress in the last election, and he lost his nephew to fentanyl. And I remember when that happened, to an accidental fentanyl overdose. And I'm happy that the state of Florida has just recently passed the use of fentanyl test strips, because that will obviously help us in this battle. And you know, I'd say to my friends across the aisle, very few that are here, but I would say to them that, listen, this is a bipartisan effort on going after fentanyl. We don't need to be convinced. We don't need to be educated. We know what's happening. We've seen the numbers. We know this is affecting kids across the country. But we've heard a lot about the cartel, Doctor. And the drug trafficking trade that's going on in Mexico. And so I want to ask you a question, Doctor. These cartels, these drug traffickers, in addition to the drugs that they're carrying, do you know what else they like to carry? It's not a trick question. Just yell it out when you know it. Guns. They like to carry guns, Dr. Gupta, right? That's what protects the cartel. That's what protects the drug trade. So my amendment number 1 renames the bill, H.R. 1640, to the Appliance Bill of Rights, to put it on par with some of our most important rights as Americans, to show the American people that Congress is working and can tackle the hard issues for families across the nation. Amendment number 3 helps ensure that the hours of hard work do not go by the wayside on this issue. And so I propose creating a position in the U.S. Department of Energy for the sole purpose of fighting the war on gas stoves. This amendment would create this position in the department, the Supreme Allied Gas Commander, a position that young boys and girls can one day aspire to, just as they're sitting in class, maybe reading a book, hopefully a book that wasn't banned, or sitting in class, hopefully being safe. They could think about being one day the Supreme Allied Gas Commander. My last amendment, my second amendment on that one, changes the name to Stoves Over Gun Violence Act. In 2020, there were more than 40 million gas stoves, which is only about 10% of the amount of guns that are on the streets. And so I thought that maybe we could show parents really what our priority is, which is stoves over gun violence. And finally, Mr. Chairman, amendment number 5 to H.R. 1615, to kind of put us back on the right track, is this amendment would take all the funds that are being used for the purpose of this gas stove thing and redirect them for gun violence prevention efforts. The American people deserve to know the origins of the COVID-19 virus. I happen to believe, based on the evidence that is available, that it's most likely that it came out of the lab than not. But for the families who lost loved ones to COVID, they don't have an answer. But also, I think the American people have a right to know why so much misinformation was spread about COVID-19 in this country by President Trump. Let me just read some of the greatest hits from President Trump. China's been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency. It will all work out well. In particular, on behalf of the American people, I want to thank President Xi. Okay. I just spoke to President Xi last night. And you know, we're working on the problem, the virus. It's a very tough situation. I think he's going to handle it. I think it's handled very well. We're helping wherever we can. Just had a long conversation with the president of China. He's strong, sharp, powerful, focused on leading the counterattack to the coronavirus. He feels they're doing very well, even building hospitals in a matter of days. Great discipline in taking place in China. President leads strongly in a very successful operation. We're working closely with China to help. I think China was very, professionally run in a sense. They've got everything under control. I really believe they're going to have it under control very soon. In April, supposedly it's going to die with the hotter weather, and that's a beautiful date to look forward to. But China, I can tell you, is working very hard. We have very few people in this country with COVID, and you know what? They're getting better. They're all getting better. I think the whole situation will work out well. We pretty much shut it down coming from China. We only have 15 people with COVID. And, 15 within a couple of days, it's going to go down to 0. That's a pretty good job we've done. It's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, hopefully soon after that. I could keep going. This goes on, and every day it goes on, there were more and more cases in this country.